Hello everyone. In this tutorial, we'll discuss about how we are going to build CRUD RESTful APIs using Spring Boot 3 and with that Spring Data JPA, basically Hibernate as you know. And with that, so for storing the data, I'm going to, for demo purpose, I'm going to use the in-memory database because it will be very easy to demonstrate. Because if you're going to use some kind of the MySQL or Oracle database, then we need to create the schema and then create the details, those kind of things required. So for the simplicity, I'm using the in-memory database. CRUD means, as you know, it's a kind of create, read, update and delete, which are the basically four basic functions of this CRUD, right? So Spring Boot basically is a Java based framework used to build web applications and RESTful APIs. So Spring Boot and CRUD basically together it can be used to quickly develop a RESTful APIs that can create, read, update and delete data in the database, right? So as if we are going to create this Spring Boot project, so how we are going to create this project and what architecture basically we are going to follow. So for that basically we are going to create one project from Spring initializer. So that already I have explained one of my tutorial, like how we are going to create the Spring Boot project from the Spring initializer. From the Spring we can easily or quickly we can create the project, so that I will come later. But before that also, as architecture wise in the backend, whenever we're going to write the code, so for that first of all we are going to create one controller. Okay, so controller basically consists of these four APIs. One is the get, post, put and the delete, which is basically required for developing the CRUD kind of operations. So get, basically using get we will get the data. Post will save the data into the database. For put, basically if we're going to update any data into the database, then we are going to use a put. And delete, for if we're going to delete any resource from the database, then we are going to use a delete. After this controller actually basically talking with the service layer. In the service layer meaning whenever you are keeping all the business logic, if you are going to some kind of validation is needed before pushing data into the database, or any kind of any other extra logic if it is required for saving the data, any calculations, customizations and all the things we can keeping in inside of the service layer, which is basically called a business logic. And this service layer basically talk with the DAO layer. And this DAO layer basically is responsible to, here actually are keeping all the database related operation, save data persistence kind of logic, like saving the data into the database, then update, delete, all the getting the data from the database, all this kind of operations or method we are keeping inside of this DAO. And this basically DAO is talking with the database, actual database. So this is the kind of the architecture we can say. And this, whenever we are writing the controller, so in a controller basically we are writing some kind of APIs. I will show you, because in a theoretical it will be little bit of complex, but whenever we are going to write this controller, then it will be easy to understand. So this controller basically whenever you create all those APIs, so whenever we are start this Spring Boot application, so it will start in a local, means 880 port, whatever the port will define, and then those APIs we can call from the either Postman or maybe whatever the client you are using for, or maybe from some Angular or maybe React or any other front-end technologies. From there also we can integrate these APIs. So developing these applications, what kind of tools basically we are going to use, tools and technologies like Spring Boot 3, then Java 17, Spring Data JPA, Hibernate, in-memory database as I was talking, and as a dependency management tool, as you can see I'm using the POM, means like Maven, and for checking those things I'm using the Postman. Okay, now I already mentioned earlier how we are going to create this project. So already I have created this project from the Spring initializer. From there we can easily create those things. Next, what we will do, we are going to create the configure the database. So as I'm going to configure the database, in-memory database, so for that we need to just add these two properties over here, like h2 console is enabled, so that we can check the from the portal, means from the Chrome browser we can check the h2 databases, once we are going to create the database tables actually, then we can show from there. Okay, and then what is the database name actually, that we need to provide here. Okay, so these two properties basically we need to add over here, then rest of the things automatically taken care by this Spring Boot. Okay, next, like if we see this pom.xml actually, so here basically as you can see, use this Spring Boot starter data JPA as we are going to use some kind of the like JPA functions, Hibernate JPA function. Then the starter with this dependency is basically used to create the REST endpoints, and this H2 database for the in-memory database. So test is not required for the time being. So these are the main dependencies basically that I'm shown over here. Okay, so Java 17 I'm going to use. So next, actually basically first of all we are going to create the entity. So here basically we will talk about, suppose there's one product. Okay, this particular product, what we are going to do, so we are going to save the product details into the database. Next, we are going to fetch the data from the by ID or find all product. Okay, and then update this particular product, and then we delete the particular product. So this particular function we are going to demonstrate over this product. So we need to create one product entity for that. So let's create this one. So how we are going to create this product? So for that basically we are going to create one package over here. Let's create this project package first. So like Spring Boot dot can say entity. Okay, entity, and here basically we are going to use the product. Okay, create one class, let's say product. Okay, products. Okay, so now here basically as it's represent the entity basically, or it will be mapped with the table, so that's why we are going to map this particular class as entity, so that it will mapping with this particular database entities, it will be represent as entity. Okay, and also like we can provide this table annotations, and here basically we are like mapping what is the name of this table. Okay, so there is a one like name equal to, here is a products. Okay, so this table basically will create into the database. Okay, next we are going to create some fields over here. So first of all, whenever we are going to create any entities or table basically, so it's having a one ID, means unique ID, that's called a primary key, right? So how we are going to create that? So for example private, and it will be a long and ID. And for that, how we are going to mapping in the Hibernate? So that's using, we can do using generated value. And here basically we need to provide the strategy, like how it will basically it will generate this one. Maybe for Oracle it's an index, it's a sequence, strategy, and generation type is auto or identity. Provide the identity, so it will be a unique, means we don't need to maintain anything, it will automatically, whenever it will save the data into the database, it will automatically increase this ID, as it is a primary key, right? Primary key always be unique, so that's why it will be always unique. Next we are providing like defining the product name, for example. Okay, and here there is annotation so that it will be represented as a column, so that's why here basically we are providing this one and providing the name, like name we can provide. Then product having some kind of the description, like okay, we can provide the column and name equal to description. Okay, so I think, and price, like whatever the product it is, what is the price of this particular product. So product will be a kind of we can say it's a double. Okay, so as I'm not like defining this column over here, so as it will automatically also means like mapping into the database, but I'm keeping this column attribute. Why I'm saying, suppose if we are having some different name, here is a different maybe camel cases, so in that scenario, for example price 2, So in that case, maybe we can define the price. So in the table basically it will be name is this, but in a Java we are maintaining this one. Okay, so keeping this one same price. And next we are going to provide the getter and setter. Select all. So getter setter also we can create over here. So now the entity creation is done. Okay, so next what we are going to do, so I hope it's clear. If you guys have any doubts or like anything, please do let me know in comment sections, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. So in next, like basically once we are done with this entity creation, next we are going to create the repository. So what is the purpose of it is, so basically for repository, basically here it will a repository which is basically one interface basically that defines the methods for CRUD operations on the entity. Spring Data JPA basically automatically create the implementation for the repository interface. Okay, so let's say if we are going to create one means repository for the product repository, that will extend the JPA repository. Okay, and this is basically responsible to all the operations like CRUD operations kind of things. It will done by this repository. So let's create this one. So for that we are going to create another package like repository. Okay, now here we are going to create one interface, new interface, for example product repository. Okay, so interface, and this particular implements JPA repository. Extends, it will not implements, it will extend JPA repository. Okay, and here basically we need to provide the like table name, that like it will this means like from which table you are going to do this kind of operation. So here actually basically we need to provide the table name, and next we are going to provide the ID. So ID it's a long, right? Products, it's a products. Okay, so this is done now. And as you know, note that like here we are not providing, means here actually basically there is one repository annotations, so that you can provide, but here basically it's not required. Why it is not required? Because Spring Data JPA internally take care of it, so that's why we don't need to mention it over here. Okay, now basically what we are going to do over here in the repository, we are not going to do any kind of things. So it already like provided all those things like save, find all, update, delete all those things. So that's why we don't need to do anything over here. Next basically we are going to create the service layer. Okay, so service layer basically here in this method basically we are going to create those services like which will be responsible to create the product, save, then like fetch the product details, update the product details, delete the product details. So those kind of things we are going to write inside of this service layer. So let's create another package for this one. Next package, instead of entity we are going to write this service. Okay, create another class like product service. Okay, and this particular, as it is a service layer, so it should be annotated with the service annotation. Okay, next basically we are going to here basically first of all auto-where we need to auto-where this repository, private product repository, as for saving and all kind of the DAO related operations or database related operations we are going through this one. Next basically we are going to create product. Okay, so for that we are going to create one method over here, create product. Okay, it will be a public, not private. Why? Because else we are not able to access from the outside of this class. So here basically it will take one input like products. It will take this one as input, and then product repository dot save, and here it will be product. Okay, so we can return from over here. So it will be a products, return this one. Okay, so we can also change the return type of this as products. So that means create product is done. Okay, so basically save, as you can see, we have not created any method here, but it will already provide. If you see over here in the JPA repository, so here actually save and flash, save all flash, then all the method actually basically it's provided over here. Okay, okay, if you seek this one, so it's already having those things, find one, find all, find by ID. So those kind of already JPA repository actually basically provided. So that's why we don't need to create those method inside of the repository. So next what we are going to do, we are going to update the product. So for updating the product, what we are going to do, basically based on the ID, we need to find the ID for product first, and then if it is particular ID is present, then we are going to update the product, right? So let's create another method like update product. It will again a public, it will input as a product. Then basically here we are going to do one query like product repository dot find by ID. Okay, as you can see, find by ID. So from where we will get the ID? From the product, from the input. Okay, dot get ID. From the input we will get the ID. So it will return us, as you can see, it will return the optional of products. Okay, product, it will be optional, so change the return type optional. Okay, next basically, okay, optional product. Next we will check if this particular product is available. How we are going to check? With this is present. If it is present, then only we are going to update the product. So how we are going to, here actually basically we are going to products update prod equal to optional dot get. So it will return as the existing product, and here basically we are going to update all the things like not going to set the ID basically, but the name and description. If we are going to change update the name, so we can update the name from over here, product dot get name dot set description, products dot get description. Okay, so we have updated from here, and then finally using this repository we are going to save the data. Okay, here basically we need to pass this entity, updated entity. Okay, and next then we are going to return this update product, return update product. Okay, so we need to change the return type over here. If this is not present basically, then we are going to return kind of exception. Okay, so maybe we can return new one runtime exception, or maybe here just for the timing I'm throwing over here, or else we can we can create our own custom exception, and then basically it will, instead of return, it will return throw. Okay, and here we can say product not available. Okay, products dot get id dot get. So what I was saying, so means either we can create our own customized exceptions, or else we can just, for the time being, we can throw this runtime exception if it is not available. Okay, so what we did over here, basically first step to find this one. If it is present, then we are updating the data and save the data into the database and return from here. If it is not present, then it will come over here and then throw the runtime exception. Okay, so that's all for this update product. Next, basically we'll say like get all product. So for that we are find all product, we can say. Okay, it will be a public and list of product it will return basically. So return type would be a list of products. We need to import this one. Okay, so here basically using this list dot find all, so it will directly return all the product. And from here, as you can see, it is also existing, means it is a method of this JPA repository provide, and using this it will return list of the product whatever it's available from the database. Okay, next we can do like get by id also we can do. So I'm just copy this method, and here we can mention find by id, find product by id. So here basically we'll expecting like id, long id, and then here find by id. Okay, and here we are going to pass this id, and it will be a, instead of list, because it will return a single product, so instead of list of product it will be a products. Okay, find by id, not find all, and it will be optional. So either like means assume, we can assume that product will be available, else it will throw the exception. So we can like use this one instead of this. So based on the id it will fetch the data first, and then if it is present, then we are directly like we can return this one, like return optional product dot get, else what we will throw this exception, else we'll throw runtime exception. It will be a id, because we are taking as a input as id, not the product of the object, right? So this is done. So find product by id is also done. Next, what is left? Update is done, get is done, create is done. Next we are going to update the product. So for, okay, not update is already done. Delete. So how we are going to delete? First of all, like we can check or maybe, or directly we can delete the product. So let's delete by id. Okay, it will be a public, and here actually basically we are expecting input as a long id, product id, and using this repository dot delete by id, and here basically we are going to pass this id. So like and it is a, because delete, so it will be a return type will be a void, because we are not returning anything. Or else what we can do, we can directly return any string like delete is successfully done. So that also we can do. Here also we can do the same way. First of all, like we can find out the product, then if it is product is available, let's do this one. Okay, so if it is present, then only delete, else, okay, if it is available, then delete this one, else like return this exception. so that it will be better. So it will be a doesn't throw any exception, right? So this is done now. Next, basically what we are going to do next, we are going to write the controller layer, which is basically talking with this methods, right? So let's create one controller. So for that we can create another package dot controller. Okay, and here basically we are going to create another class which is basically product controller. Okay, as it is a controller, so it will be a kind of REST controller. We need to provide annotation, so this annotation we need to provide. Next, we are going to provide the request mapping for providing the path. Okay, slash for example API. Next, here we are going to create the method. So for what are the all the things, like first of all get all products, get product by ID, then create product, update product and delete product. Okay, so let's create those things. So for get all, for example, get all, it will be a public, and here it will be a get mapping. Okay, so here we can say we can also provide the path inside of this construct over here. So how we are going to provide the path, like slash find all. Okay, or we can change this method name find all. Here basically we are going to use the AutoWare private product service. Actually basically we are going to use over here because product service having all the methods, right? So product service we have used over here, and then product service dot find all product. Okay, now we are going to return, and here basically we are going to response entity means dot okay. So and we need to pass this response in a body. So response entity dot okay dot okay, and then we need to pass the body. In a body basically we need to pass this response. Okay, okay, so the return type would be response type of list of products. Okay, so this is done for this find all. Next we are going to do for find by ID. So it will be a find by, instead of find all, find by ID. Same over here, find by ID. So if it is a find by ID, then find by product by ID, and here basically it will take one input. So how you are pass this input, like here we can either use the path variable or either we can use the request param. So I'm going to use the path variable long ID. Okay, so this path variable basically we are going to pass. So here we need to pass this ID, and instead of list, as it is it will be a return a single product, so instead of list it will be a response entity of product. Okay, and path param what it is. Okay, we need to import this one, not path param, actually it's a path variable and a request param. Okay, so that's why. Okay, so find by ID, and here basically we need to pass this path variable. Okay, and here we need to pass this ID. Okay, so find by ID also done. I hope it's clear how we are going to create and how we are going to create this mapping those things, mapping those APIs, and how we are going to calling this service from over here. Next we are going to like create the product. So create product, it will be a public, and it will be a post mapping, as we are going to save the data, right? So it will be a post mapping, and here basically we need to provide the mapping like create Okay, and it will take the input as the product, so those things will pass as in a body, so that's why it will be a request body. Okay, request body, and here we need to pass this product, this entity. Okay, now here we need to call this one. Okay, and here we need to say create instead of it, this create product, and it will take the input as a product entity. So the return type will be a response of this, means as a response it will return the product details in a body. So this is for the create. Next, basically we are going to update the product. So update the product, it will be a kind of like a put method. So it will be a put mapping. Okay, and instead of create it will be a update. Here we need to provide this slash, and in a create we need to provide this slash. Instead of create it will be a update product. Okay, so for update the product we are going to take this input. In a request body we are going to take this input. Okay, and id we can take over here, so we don't need to mention as a path variable over here. Either you can pass another id in a path variable, or else from this, in this body we are going to pass the id, and instead of create we are going to update product. Okay, so this is for the update, and in a response it will return us the updated values, like what is the update we have, so that response will get. Next one is remaining, like delete. So for that, instead of put there is another mapping which is a delete mapping. So we need to use this one, and instead of update we are going to use the delete. Okay, and here also same, delete product. So here basically we are going to use this path variable because delete happened with the id, so it will be done by this, and here also we need to use this id. Okay, and instead of update it will be a delete by id, and use this id over here. So in a response basically it doesn't return anything, so what we will do, we will not returning anything over here, we are just only return what we will return over here. So means even we don't need this one because we are not going to append anything in the body. We are just return anything like the status of the HTTP, means HTTP status is okay, HTTP status dot okay, so that it will be understandable from the response also that it is delete the resource from the backend successfully. So that means the mapping is creation is done. This is the find all product. Here we can see find all the product is getting called. This is find by id. This will create the product, means save the data into the database. This will update the product, and this will delete the product from the database. So this is means controller service and all those things creation is done now. Next what we will do, we'll start this project, and from the postman we will call these services, so that we will check like how it is working, and also we'll open the H2 database so that we can check after saving the data we can it will visible from the database, and also like we can get the product, so that it will be easy to understand. Let's start this project, and from the postman, and also I will show you the how H2 database, how we can open the H2 database from the browser. So for start this one, let's run this Spring Boot application. So it will not take much time, it will start it easily. We are just only to run as a Java applications or Spring Boot applications. Okay, what is checking this has no identifier. Okay, let's check. Okay, so as this is a primary key basically, so for that we need to annotate with the id, so that's why it's throwing this exception. Okay, so now it should work fine. It should work fine now. started. The H2 console is database available here. H2 is up now. JPA repository, started application, right? Next we will check the all those things from the Postman. Okay, so from the Postman actually basically, okay, now see the H2 database, how like in the browser basically 8080 port, as the application is open in the 8080 port as you can see, and then we need to provide this URL like H2 console. Okay, then it will asking for the like this UI will open, and here basically we need to provide this JDBC URL. From where we will get this? From the properties file we have defined these properties. This is a database name. Okay, so this URL basically we need to provide over here, and then username is default is a SA, password you don't need to provide anything for the H2 database. So once we will connect this one, then it will give us this UI something like this. So as you can see, the product DB database tables is created with this 4 like fields: ID, description, name and price. Okay, so if we run this one, initially it doesn't have any value. Now first of all we are going to create the project, means product actually. So for that here in the Postman we need to create one post mapping, localhost 880 API and create. So how we are going to get this one? Like if we go to the controller, so here's the API, and then for the create, right? And like this is the first of all, this is the path, there's localhost 880 that we need to provide, then API, then create. So it's having a ID, name, description and price. So price also you need to provide here like price for the mobile product, price for example 100. Okay, so now if we run this one, as you can see 200 we are getting response, or as a response we are getting this one. That means this product is created with the ID 1. ID we don't need to provide over here because it will be auto generated. Now if we check the database, so as you can see the ID is 1, mobile product mobile, and the price is 100. That means data is successfully done now. Next let's try to find all. Okay, so if we run this find all, so it will later give us this one. We are getting the 200. Also we can't do like find by ID also. So duplicate tab and then find by ID, and here basically we need to provide the like path variable. So whatever the ID will provide here, so it will give us the data. Now suppose if we give 2, so it will give us the exception. Okay, it will give us the exception, internal server error. Now if we say check over here, so it will give this product not available, right, with this ID 2. Okay, so this is thing. Now let's create another product. Suppose we don't need to provide the ID, actually basically it's not required because it will be auto generated. As you can see in a response we are getting the ID, but here we are not providing the ID. That means this ID basically should generated automatically as I was mentioning. So because we have provided the generated value like static is identity, so it will automatically generated, right? So that's why you don't need to provide those things. Okay, so now like if we check this one, so you can see the 2 product is here, 1, 2 and this one. Okay, now if we try to run this one find by all, so it will give us the 2 data, 1 and then 2. Now if we try to update something, okay, description, so for example we are updating the description for this ID 1. Okay, and here basically we need to for update let's check the controller. For update we are just having this one, so we don't have the path variable, we just need to pass this one as a body, in a body. So we need to delete this one and update. So it should, what it will do, it will basically update this and price also. Let's say okay, we have not set in the price basically, so it will keep the prices same. Let's check the code first. So for update basically we are only updating the name and description. Whatever the name and description will come in the input, that will basically update. So price doesn't matter basically. So price, name and description, so we are updating the description. Okay, for the ID is 1. Okay, it's updated. We are getting 200. As you can see, it's a put method for updating. Now let's check the database. You can see the description is updated, right? Now try to delete this 2 ID. Okay, so for delete, try to delete by ID 2. Okay, so it will delete the ID which is having 2 ID. Okay, delete the product which is having a 2, internal server error. Okay, let's see. Okay, 2 is not available. Why? But product 2 is here, right? Product 2 is here. 2 is not here. Okay, let's try to delete this one. Okay, again it's saying product 1 is not available. Okay, let's check the code what happened over here for delete by ID. Okay, if ID is here, is present, then okay, basically we need to like return from over here, right? Else what it will do, it will after delete the product, it will throw this exception always. So that's why we are getting this throw exception always, right? So basically we need to like return from over here. Okay, so now it should not come, it will restart it. We need to restart this one. So once we'll restart, so it will basically flush all the data from the h2 database, as it is a in-memory database. So that's why, that is the reason that it will not keeping any data inside of this database. It will start again. Let's check the DB first. So we need to again, it will restart. So here we will not get any data. Okay, his table is empty. Now try to create the product first. This is a 1, then mobile product 2, so it will 2, ID is 2. Now if we check the database, so 1 and 2 is here. Now try to delete 1. Okay, as you can see, this is the okay, right? Previously we have not added the return type of this one, so that's why it's always throwing the exception. Now if we check the database, so 1, this ID, this record should not be available here, because not available over here, because we have deleted this one. Okay, as you can see, only 2 is available. Okay, so I think it's clear now, like how it is working. So what, just to summarizing those things, whatever we have done here, so we have created one CRUD operations using like REST Spring Boot REST APIs, like get, create, update, find all, find by ID, all those things. I have created one controller, then service layer, then repository layer. So I have also tried to simulate all those things, how it is working, how it is communicate with the database, how it, we have write the code for this one. It's very easy now, right? Means looks like very easy. So like this is all for this one, like and in later on I will also put more details on it, like I will try to like put more tables entity over here, so that I will try to like cover those things, like writing the complex HQL queries. How, as you can see over here in the repository, we have not write any kind of the queries for fetching the data, but in near future I will try to put more entities like user, order, all those tables I will put over here, all entities over here, so that I can write the complex HQL queries, so that it will be easy to understand like how we are going to write the complex HQL query. But for the timing, that's all for this Spring Boot CRUD JPA tutorials. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.